So here we go. I'm Bob Wynn, founder of ProSquared. ProSquared provides financial education, career guidance, and wealth creation opportunities for athletes. To that end, we created this broadcast series, The Exponential Athlete. As the title suggests, we want to help athletes to be as much of a success off the field as on the field, thereby exponentially leveraging their potential and their brand to maximize their own quality of life, as well as that of their families and of their community. This Exponential Athlete videocast is our forum to highlight and explore issues, events, and trends relating to sports, business, and society. In keeping with ProSquared's mission, we want our broadcast to be a conduit for learning, engagement, and the exploration of opportunities. Our moderator today is the fun, smart, and inquisitive Milani Mitchell, ProSquared's social media coordinator. Milani is a public relations and philanthropic expert and owner of Jam Management LLC. After graduating from Hampton University with honors, I might add, Milani swiftly immersed herself in the world of athletics and youth development. She has worked with athletes and sports programs at every level, from high school, college, as well as the pros. Milani has a unique ability to make complex issues engaging and relatable to her audience. This is why we are pleased that she will be our moderator today, and it is my pleasure to turn this over to Milani Mitchell for her to introduce today's exponential athlete. Milani.
Thank you so much, Robert. I honestly will never ever get tired of the introduction because it's so great. And you actually say it like an announcer. So it almost sounds like
I'm
I'm
just
about to
warming up.
get an award. Yeah. It almost sounds like I'm about to receive a reward or an award for something, but it's phenomenal. I'm great to be on your Pro Square team. I'm so grateful for you guys. And I just want to thank everybody that is on the call right now. And I just want to personally thank our exponential athlete today, Mr. Jonathan P. Wynn. It is an honor not only to just be able to interview you, but sometimes when you find people or you find out people are from like the same area and same city that you're from, you have like this kindred connection. And as I was doing my research, I saw that you are originally from Stone Mountain, Georgia. So I thought that was really, really cool because I grew up in Clayton County. And so Stone Mountain is not too far from us. I will once we before we get into the interview, of course, we'll allow you to talk a little bit about your high school experience and just growing up in Stone Mountain and what you experienced as a child there before going over to college and then of course entering the pros. And so I just think this interview is going to be cool because we got a little hometown love going on. And anytime I find out somebody is from Atlanta, it's a pleasure. So I just definitely want to thank you for being on today. And I want to definitely thank you in advance for being a part of what I call the Pro Squared team and us just wanting to be the cornerstone for changing the culture of student athletes and athletics all over the world. I think there's a new standard that needs to be designed. I think there's a new code of ethics that we as Black Americans here that are working with our sons, our daughters, our husbands, our brothers, our cousins that are athletes. I think we have a job to do. And I think it's our responsibility to not only educate, but inform every community of the challenges, of the realities, and of the very unique and creative measures that it really takes being a professional athlete. And so that's why we have you here today, because we think you have gone above and beyond not only to be a successful athlete, but to be a successful citizen prior to becoming a professional athlete and then post. And that is a topic of discussion that a lot of times we don't get to see, just in our community. It's always, prior and then during, and then we don't get to see what happens. So we don't get to see life after football. And so we just thank you so much for being here today. And we're going to jump right in it. So give us a little bit about yourself, just growing up here in Atlanta. What high school did you go to? And let's start with what high school you went to, because that's going to tell me a lot about you matriculating on to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, appreciate it, Milani. I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Grew up here. I grew up going to Stevenson High School. I've been in the whole system, K through 12, in terms of from Pine Ridge to Stevenson Middle to Stevenson High School. Grew up in a town where it was a lot of you know, influential Black people just doing
Mm-hmm.
big things. Everybody kind of was either creative or did a lot with sports, or had different avenues to really express themselves. And I was glad to be centered around that, and with my influence from like my family and my dad putting me in sports early, I always kind of knew I was going to do something with sports. And once I got towards Stevenson Middle School, I kind of figured football was more of the thing that I would put my full participation into. And
Mm-hmm.
going into high school, it became something that I wanted to actually try to get into school with. And just playing football there, I was glad to be around teams that had 20 or so players every year go to D1 schools and go off
Mm-hmm.
to college on scholarships. And I knew that was something I wanted to strive for. And with that, my family, especially my mom, made sure I had good grades, made sure education was a big thing. I always was like in AP classes early, and
Yes.
doing the tough classes and doing my best to do well in those. And she kind of always knew that whatever school I did go to wasn't going to be just a school where it was just going to be a football school. It was going to be a all around school. And
Mm-hmm.
once I had the opportunity in junior year to get recruited and everything, I had chances of like South Carolina, other SEC schools, but Vanderbilt, once they knocked on the door, she knew like this was it. Like that was the only school I feel like I should go to. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, um, also the coach that was there, he made a good message and good point of how, this was not just a 4-year plan, but a 40-year plan.
Wow.
So, I kind of, took a test to that, and from then on, from Stevenson High School, went off to Vanderbilt University. Um, Played there in the SEC. Coach Franklin's last class before he went off to Penn State, and then we had Coach Mason. It was a great time, great experience, just, something to just compete on and off the field at the highest
Uh-huh.
level, play in the SEC, be in a good city that is now on the come up in terms of, you know, I guess culture, in terms of everything building in Nashville. So I was good to be surrounded by that. And that kind of helped molded me into a pretty all around guy to be able to, strive for things I want to see, or, go after dreams that I feel like I can't, or most people wouldn't try to go after. And, it basically helped me to be where I am today.
Very good. Now, for those of you that don't know, Stevenson High School is one of the, I would say, most one of the popular schools here in Atlanta in DeKalb County. Not only known for their athletics, but for their arts and their band programs. So when Jonathan is just explaining to us his matriculation from elementary to middle school to high school, I want our participants and the people that are going to listen to this later on to understand that there was a unique transition from elementary to middle to high school because of the legacy and because of the standard that was already set at Stevenson. One of the things that you mentioned, which is very interesting, that I definitely want to get into, is you saying that you took AP courses and honor courses. Can you talk to us or walk us through how important was it for you, even at a young age, to realize and to say to yourself, you know what, I'm a student athlete and I want to not only push myself to the limit on the field, but I also want to push myself to the limit in the classroom? How important was it for you to take those AP and honors courses? And then how did you manage taking AP and honors courses as well as just being a killer or 5-star athlete at the school as well?
Yeah, I always, like, through my family, they value education. They value
Mhm.
me getting good grades. So when them first years, ninth and 10th grade of Stevenson High School,
Mhm.
I wasn't really going out as much. So I had a lot of spare time. And so with that, I had more chances to, do AP classes. And I think the biggest AP class that I liked was world history because of my teacher. And she
Mhm.
kind of always reflected how if you can do these classes here in high school, then college is not going to be as hard or be, that much crazy than high school. So from
Mhm.
that, I just always had that work ethic to be able to balance it all. It was times, even if my mom was to come here and talk to you, she could tell you how I'll be on the weekend studying about all day, working
Mhm.
on things in my room, even on a Sunday, studying all day. And from then on, she always knew like, this is we got a different type of kid as a
Mhm.
son. And from then on, I just made sure to just knock those out. It wasn't hard to work on these projects and do some of these schoolwork to where when it did get time for Vanderbilt and going there, it kind of just reinforced going to college. So it kind of started from those years, and from then on, it kind of just matriculated into college.
Right. So today we see a lot of we're about to get into your recruiting process now and you going to Vandy. We see a lot of today, especially during COVID, a lot of the official visits and unofficial visits are virtual. And we also see there has been a shift in just the recruiting process as well because when you were coming out of school, even when I graduated high school in 2013, even when I was coming out of school, social media wasn't as big as it is today. And
Yeah,
so a lot of people have the advantage of being recruited and sometimes not even going to a huge high school or a winning high school or a high school that's legendary for their athletics, but a lot of them have the opportunity of being recruited because of social media, because they can post, because they can they can call somebody that lives in another state and say, hey man, I'm in your city, let's come and do some routes, let's come and work out, let's post it, let's tag. Can you talk about the effort that you had to put into your recruiting process without being, in this social media stage? Because I really do feel like there is a type of standard of excellence that people in my class that were coming out had to have, and then the kind of effort that you had to have coming out, because it wasn't just you being able to post and hashtag. You had to put a highlight tape together, and then you had to go out there on the field on Friday nights and you had to do the work. So walk us through or talk to us about the effort and just your mentality and the mentality that you had to say, you know what, not only am I going to be not only do I want to be highly recruited, but I want to be highly recruited for even a big conference, a D1 school. Talk about that effort that you had to have even without social media.
Um, well, first we graduated in the same class, so I was kind of on the same wave.
Okay.
That's 13, but as well with Stevenson, I was blessed and luckily to have
Okay.
a recruiting coordinator. We had a recruiting coordinator here, Corey Johnson. He is basically the reason why a lot of athletes went off to major schools. Like, I don't even know how he did it, but he just knew all these coaches. Every day during the spring when I'm in class working, you can just come up to the class and be like, we have somebody here for Jonathan Wynn, and it'll be a coach outside, and I'll just everybody looking at you like, oh, you something special, like just walk out and go talk to a coach like it was nothing. But I do feel like things did stem early from 10th grade year because we was also lucky and blessed to have somebody who filmed the games every weekend. And me, I didn't really have as much money, but I would somehow scrape $10 every week to basically get that DVD
Mhm.
and watch it on Sunday so I can see how I did. And watching it with my dad, and that carried on until junior year, where I actually started and played a lot more, and I could
Mhm.
look at myself and I could see how I'm doing. And then at the same time, for me having all the DVDs from that season, he was also a good person to go make the highlight tape for. So I would just tell him what clips from the DVDs I would want to put together. He would put it together. And then me listening to recruiting coordinator Corey Johnson, I would just tell him like, this is my highlight tape. Like, see what you can do with it. And then he'll just let me know what I need to do. Cause I think during that time I was pretty skinny, and he'll be like, yeah, you need to just start to eat more, start to work out more, get bigger, da da da. And then through my hard work and dedication, I tried to, get bigger, because with him, he knew that for college coaches, yeah, like it's an eye test, and it's also
Yes.
it's an eye test and what you can have, what you have on film and
Yes.
grades and everything. So I made sure to do that to fulfill his part of the deal. And once I started doing that, and he started showing my tape more to coaches, it kind of just all aligned in place, like just aligned in place. So I was like I said, like to this day, I'm still very blessed for Coach Corey and the video guys for helping me get me out there to these major college coaches.
Yes. Can you explain to our audience what an eye test is for those of us that don't know?
Yeah. So basically, an eye test is basically you as the athlete looking like, or showing your physique, or looking like a potential highly respectable athlete in college in terms of like potential, in terms of you know how you look. Like most likely what most coaches would do is just, they'll probably, when you see them, they'll come say what's up, grab your forearm or grab your shoulder. They'll try to grab something to see like, oh, like he kind of solid or he kind of small. And that's that's low key part of the eye test. They want to see how you look, and then at the same time feel you, and they'll be like, okay, like we can develop him, we can get him bigger and stronger. And that's how I feel like that kind of goes into the recruiting process a little bit.
Yes, and I just want to piggyback off that, and a lot of times too, because again, I work with high school students as well with their transition into college now, and I'm always talking to them about the eye test, and I'm always going, guys, a lot of the times these coaches are also matching you up with your position with who they already have. So if you come on your official visit in November or in December and you weigh 135, when you come back in the spring, what do you weigh? Also, I'm always telling my guys too, when you working out and you recording a video and you that looks really good, but what does it look like with pads on? So I always encourage my high school guys, yes, put film online, yes, use your hashtags, but while you're working out, pad up. Or while you're working out or while you're training, put ankles on your waist, put ankles on your arms, because all of that fast, quick feet is cute until you got somebody over 200 pounds running at you, or until you got pads on and it's like, okay, well, you've been presenting yourselves as if you run a 4.2, but really with pads on, you run a 4.5. So I'm so glad that you said the eye test, because that's something that a lot of times, especially as a young athlete, if you don't have the resources that you had, Jonathan, you have no idea. If you don't have the recruiting coordinator, you have no idea. And even with that, you have, just no idea, what the coaches are expecting. What is the eye test? What is it that they are looking at? Talk us through how you chose going to Vandy, because you're already naturally, if you were being recruited and Vanderbilt was your choice, that means you probably had other SEC schools. That means you probably had Big Ten schools. That means you probably had ACC schools looking at you. So how did you choose Vanderbilt? What was it about Vandy when you went on your visit, or when you were talking to coaches, that said, yes, I'm going to make this my home? And I ask this question to everybody that we interview, because I truly, truly feel that making a college decision, whether you're playing sports or you're going for the arts or whatever it is, it's a big deal. And it's probably one of the very few decisions as a teenager that we get to make on our own. Like, I know mommy and daddy sometimes have an influence on where we go, but when you are a student athlete and you have people and you're in the recruiting process, it's really your say. So what was it about, or what kind of questions did you ask, or what did you see in the coaches and in the facility that made you say, yes, this is my home?
Well, I committed to Vanderbilt my junior year, so that was
Okay.
for a football player. That's pretty early. So from my time, I met Coach Franklin, the coach then. He always would keep in touch. He knew how to develop that relationship with the players. It's
Hmm.
funny because he was a major in psychology, so he kind of knew how to, get to you. And then from then on, he knew how to get to the parents, I believe. Like he knew how to preach education to the parents, and that's gonna come down to the kid. Like I would it'd be funny, but I feel like it definitely got to my mom. But that's another story. But from that, like pretty early on, I had few offers, but if I didn't commit early, I would have had a lot more offers. But
Okay.
from my time there, going there, I did see like he was preaching about the education was right. Like I heard so much about Vanderbilt in terms of education. I didn't really know much about the football, but then
Hmm.
that particular season before I committed, I started watching more of their games, and they were actually like a good team in the SEC. Like
Hmm.
me growing up in Georgia, I was mostly a Bulldog fan. Like
Right.
that's what we grew up on. But I don't remember many games of them playing Vanderbilt, but then as I started to pay more attention, they played them often, regularly, along with many other schools. I think I was a Bulldog fan, but during that time I wanted to go to Florida. Like it was a lot of hype around that, and they played them often and most of the time.
Hmm.
And at the same time, Coach Franklin was showing me much love. Like he wanted me to go there. Like he was pressing me. Like I was waiting for Florida and Georgia to press me, but they wasn't really, pressing me. So that was kind
Hmm.
of the thing. But at the same time, after committing and going on that official visit, it kind of made sense because being there, you saw a lot of um, you saw a lot of black people in higher places. You saw
Mm.
only me being from Stevenson and from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Yeah, I had a black head coach. I never had a white head coach going into like from that
Wow.
time. Then we had a black head coach. We had a black athletic director. When walking around on campus, I met a lot of black professors. Um, it was kind of like, me thinking like me going to a country Ivy League type school with white people, but it was still black people in higher places. And
Hmm.
me talking to the AD, he wanted to see us thrive. And I think one of the biggest things with them was that compared to other SEC schools, black student athlete graduation rate was in the 90 percentile
Hmm.
of everybody in the SEC. So after me going on that official visit kind of made sense. Like yeah, I'm glad I made this decision because I wanted to be around that. And then he wasn't like these black people wasn't just doing anything. Like they was making power moves, like building each other up. They had
Yeah.
a black cultural center on campus for people to feel included. Like they was doing major things on the campus for the minorities, and you know, I feel like me being involved with that, along, going doing my best on football, it would have made the whole package of playing at Vanderbilt complete. So,
Right. So what would you say to students now that are being recruited? What would you say to them, or what kind of advice would you give them in choosing a school?
really just choose what is based on your values,
Hmm.
what feels right to you. Um, for me, like I said, that was one of the values in terms of black people in higher places, but you had location, you had the education, you had the coaching staff, in terms of what they was providing for you and
Hmm.
what they saw in you. Um,
Hmm.
it was kind of those like factors that like led to this decision. And really
Okay.
for like high school is really just choosing what's based for you. Then at the same time, when you have this degree from that school, what are you going to be able to go out into the real world and prosper? Like,
Wow.
are you going to be somebody that's going to have this degree but still be at home with your parents, you know what I'm saying, trying to like basically not doing nothing with the degree. Like, is it gonna do something that's gonna help you grow? Like, I feel like there's a lot of people I know from high school that still act like the same in high school,
Yes.
and that's not really good. So it's like for these student athletes, you want to be a different, totally person, different
Mhm.
different person going after graduating to where you can like exceed and prepare to be great in the real world. You know.
Yes. So Vandy is a SEC school. What was the biggest difference regarding football in college than it was in high school? Because here Georgia is a football state.
Yeah.
So the high school games sometimes look like college games.
Yeah.
But we know that it's different. We know that study hall is different. We know that workouts are different. So what was the biggest challenge what was the biggest challenge for you transitioning into that big SEC football coming from Stevenson High School?
Um, it wasn't too much. Like it's kind of like you said, the talent pool in Georgia and in Atlanta alone was pretty big.
Hmm.
Played a lot of great teams in the County to where they went off to SEC schools. So the speed, the quickness, the strength, it wasn't too far off. For me, it was probably more so just getting used to a routine, a regimen,
Mm,
because
okay.
every day things are like locked in. Like you know, you had meetings, you had
Hmm.
practices on top of classes, on top of maybe meeting with the professor for some extra study hall, lunch, and well, finding food in between time and finding a way to basically time management within
Hmm.
all that. And I feel like once you for at first it was kind of difficult finding that routine, but once you find that routine and utilize your sources, like we had study hall, but we also had tutors. We had a
Okay.
writing studio who taught me how to write better, because I remember going in as a freshman, getting papers that was just red inked up and you don't even know what you did. And but after a while, I kind of learned how to write better because of the resources. Like I feel like that's the major thing for a lot of people in transitioning to college, just finding a routine that's good for you and also utilizing all of the resources that's
Hmm.
given to athletes, like really just tapping into all of them, because like those things will help you like really graduate. Like I wasn't like the smartest, I wasn't like the
Hmm.
all that, but I knew how to utilize the resources and work hard, and that got me a chance to graduate a degree. So it was one of those things I feel like made me do well.
Yes, and we're gonna get into it a little bit later, but we know that all that red ink on your paper actually paid off because you became an author. So we're
Right.
super excited about that, and I'm thankful even that you mentioned that it was time management and building a regiment, because O'Brien and Daniel said that last week when I interviewed them. You know that you are on a very strict schedule when you are a football player in a college, especially at a huge college. I mean, it goes from, like you said, from workouts to study hall to practice to meetings to film, and it doesn't stop. It absolutely does not stop. And so I'm grateful for you saying that, and also too, just in us educating and informing our audience. Again, ProSquared is trying to be a solution for student athletes and for professionals. And so for us, I'm always, we're always discussing, okay, how can we help, how can we assist. And it's definitely looking like, if nothing else, for our high school students, is that we want to be that resource to help them with time management. So if we can get inside some of these locker rooms, freshman year and sophomore year, to help these coaches put their students on regimens already and schedules already, so that by the time they transition into college, it's literally muscle memory. That you're already on the schedule and you're so used to it because you did it in high school. So I'm super grateful for you just acknowledging that and being very genuine in that, because I think that sometimes there is a misleading perception of student athletes going to D1 schools. I think that a lot of times on the outside looking in, we think you guys just wake up and are naturally good, and we think you guys are just waking up and can just naturally time manage, and and manage your time. But the reality is, it's a lot for somebody that is 18 going on 19, but playing with somebody that's 20, 21 and maybe about to go pro. That's a lot. That's multiple personalities in the locker room,
Yeah.
on top of there's now a difference between, now you're competing every single day, because this guy came from Stevenson and he was 5-star, this guy came from Miami, he was 5-star, this guy came from California, he's 5-star. Unlike at your school where you might have been the number one this or the number one that, everybody here was number one at their school. So
Yeah.
I really do appreciate the transparency and just saying, yeah, it's different, because now you're on a regimen. When did you know, Jonathan, that you wanted to go pro after playing at Vanderbilt?
It was more so that last year. I feel like my junior year was pretty well, and then I
Mm-hmm.
got hurt a little bit my last year, but I knew that I wanted to like shoot my shot at it and see where it goes. And then I think it really set into my mind that I might be fine after my pro day and everything. And, putting up good numbers, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when my agent at the same time watched looked at my tape. I was under the radar at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
him seeing that, he was just like, yeah, like you'll be good. And it kind of all settled in after that pro day, meeting with coaches from the NFL, and that's when I was just like, okay, this I could really be in the NFL. So that's when it happened.
So our first interview that we did with ProSquared, we did with Mr. Mark McNeil, and we talked about how to get the most out of your NFL agent, how to get the most out of your NBA agent, and then we spoke with O'Brien and Daniel on last week just a little bit regarding NFL agents. When you were a junior at Vandy, did you do the reaching out to agents, or did agents reach out to you? Just kind of talk us through, because I know a lot of times when you're playing football as really in college as your junior year, agents, just depending on how well you're playing or how high your agent or whoever thinks you're going to go on a draft board, agents start reaching out to you. So can you just walk us through what that is like? Like, are agents DMing you saying, hey, my name is Milani Mitchell and I work with this player, this player, this player, I would like to work with you? What is that like during that process?
Yeah, they would mostly reach out to you, and then from that, I would find it best to get more background through the people at Vanderbilt in terms of, are these agents people that have normally worked with Vanderbilt athletes, or the athletes
That's
that went to
interesting.
school. And from that, if it was yes, then I'll continue the conversation with them. And if it was no, I kind of would just let it fade away. And
Mm-hmm.
when granted access, then we will meet on campus. Um, yeah, on campus to talk. Most likely for me, it was most likely in the facilities to talk, and then they'll let me know how I'm doing, what is looking like for me going into the draft, and how much, or basically how well I need to keep on doing to secure a good season and a good spot for the draft, or getting picked up by a team. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how it was done. For my situation, it was more so I reached out. Um, it was one agent that had me on the list, but then after I got hurt, they kind of just not stopped talking to me, which is some of the things that these agents would do
Mm-hmm.
for athletes. And in terms of me picking my agent, it was more so based on my situation in terms of
Mm-hmm.
me trying to find an agent that would represent me at the highest. Me that one that would have a good that'll take out a good percentage from the money, like not too much and not too low, but it's a good amount of percentage. And then one
Very good.
that will look out for my best interests, actually connect with me, talk with me, know what I want outside of football as well. I feel like for my agent, he was able to give me things outside of football to, start that connection with for life after football. And then at the same time, when things were down in terms of me not being on the team or me getting cut or released, he knew how to tap into his connections and get me with another team and everything. So it's a lot of those things you gotta play out in your head in terms of would this agent be right for me and everything? Whether you're drafted, whether you're undrafted, like are they gonna fight for you and look out for your best interest to where you don't just give them all your money and they don't do much for you. Like you gotta have them work for you instead of you
Yes.
work for them. So yeah.
Yes, you just dropped a whole lot of gems right there. I mean, a whole lot of gems. I do have to ask you though, because again, you were young. If you junior year, you're young, and agents are reaching out to you. You're reaching out to agents. How did you stay grounded and positive at such a young age when you had agents that were talking to you and then you would get hurt and or you got injured and then they kind of fell off, because that's a real thing. And I think again, on the outside looking in, we think of it just being glorious. And especially if you're dealing, if it's your first time, trying to get an agent, it's your first time going to the league, if you're the first person in your family to do that, it's hard to communicate that to your parents, because your parents and even sometimes your coaches don't know what that process is like. So how did you stay grounded and positive to say, you know what, that guy just wasn't for me? I still got to do the work. I still have to put in the work. I still have to vet agents so that I can get the most out of my agent.
Um, I kept I had a pretty nice circle, surrounded with
Okay.
people positive. You know, I my parents wasn't the type to they kind of like just let me handle everything. They wasn't this was new to them, but at the same time, like they just told me just worry about school and football and graduating, which was the main thing.
Hmm.
Second, the coaches, they just wanted me to just do well and finish out the season the best I could. And then third, I had a lot of in terms of people in my corner. Me being part of, we had a team chaplain I was close to. There was a lot of
Mm.
people that kind of just kept me humble or would either keep me humble or tell it to me real in terms of how things will play out. And I kind of just relied off that and had good intuition.
Very good. I want to ask you, or let us know, what is a pro day for our listeners that don't know, because I'm always telling my guys that, so in college, the popular thing or the more popular thing that everybody sees and everything is combine, but some people don't get invited to combine, and some people have no interest in going to combine, and so they use their pro day as their combine. What is a pro day for those of us that are watching right now and those of us that will listen later that have no idea what a pro day is?
It's kind of like a day for the athletes at that school that want to come out to the draft to showcase their basically their skills in terms of like their natural tangible skills such as their speed, their quickness, their strength, their what I'm saying, their football skills as well. And they're doing it on their stomping grounds, on their college grounds, and
Mhm.
not in front of maybe a different space where like the combine. Like I feel like with the pro day, it's more natural. It's more
Mm.
a way for them to not feel pressured and stressed. All the coaches will go to that pro day to get their times or their bench numbers or their speed numbers, and they're doing it with the buddies that they play football with the 4 and 5 years being there, and that's where they basically showcase their skills in front of these NFL scouts that they could play in the league.
So and during this pro day, are your agent was your agent allowed to be there? Was it more so your agent connecting with scouts, or were you doing that directly?
Um, it would be my agent. He didn't. I didn't begin to connect with them until after pro day. Um,
Okay.
but he didn't get a chance to attend. But just me being there with the guys and my dad being there, I felt a lot of, you know, I felt good just to be able to do that and really just showcase the things I've been doing since since I was little. Like it's really just all natural things that you just showcase at the pro day.
Yes. And so after so there's pro day, and then there's a, I guess you could call it a small process that happens after pro day and after combine before being drafted. And the first team that you were drafted to was the Minnesota Vikings. Can you walk us through that middle process, or that gray area from pro day slash combine and then into the locker room of the Minnesota Vikings? And I want to, as much as possible, talk us through just how you were either a committing yourself to working out or your discipline or whatever routine you were because you wanted to be prepared for the locker room, and then just be that mentality, because everybody sees the guys that are first round draft picks. They get to walk out with the t-shirt and the hat, but that's not the reality for everyone.
Mm.
And sometimes that reality that we don't see on TV actually ends up being better for the guys that didn't have all the flashy lights, but that was able to go to a practice, or I mean, that was able to get a tryout in and
Yeah.
then make the team. So talk us through that gray space, because the other piece of ProSquare that I'm always, just talking to our team about, because I've worked so heavily out. When we were talking to Daniel and O'Brien last week, I let our listeners know, like, hey, I've been in that green room, and I've been on calls where you have guys that were projected to go on the first day, and then we're still sitting there on the third day, and then we have to fly home and then just kind of watch for the name at the bottom of the screen. And so what we are trying to do as ProSquared as well is we are trying to open the eyes of our audience to get every lens of being drafted, and every lens of being recruited, and every lens of post life, because it's different. And we don't want people to get caught up and stuck into this one track mind that it happens this way. On signing day, you sign, and then you go, and then you
Yeah.
play, and then you get drafted. It doesn't happen like that. So
Mm.
talk us through that, your personal gray space from your pro day slash combine, that gray space, and then before going into the locker rooms of the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. Before that pro day, my normal day was working out in the morning and working at
Mhm.
sleeping to basically stay in Nashville and make it out there. I didn't want to go to Atlanta. I wanted to be at my Vanderbilt space and train there. After pro day, um, I looked at my numbers. I saw that I had good numbers, and from then on, I just continued to stay training. The biggest thing that you want to do is just stay running, stay active. You saw a lot of cases where people tore their hamstrings or tweaked their hamstrings going into mini
Mm.
camp. And from that, I made sure I just kept running and kept moving. And the thing was, from my situation, um, I was undrafted. When you're undrafted, you you have little room to make error. You just have a small room. But
Mhm.
when you're drafted, they got money on you, so it's like you can mess up a little bit, but it's
Not much.
not much compared
Mhm.
to like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So from that, I just stayed training, did that. I met with some coaches through lunch. We just talked football. We looked at film. We talked about plays. They wanted to know my IQ of football, like, what it was, how did I read or process information? How did I, looked at football film. and looked at this defense or looked at this offense, like little things like that. And then they would get those notes and probably bring it to their ready board in terms of who they want to probably go after in the draft. I went home for the draft in Atlanta, had my day ones come through, just be with me while at the draft. Um, Through those days, you're just kind of just for me, my mindset was kind of just chilling. I kind of didn't want to think about the whole um pressures of getting drafted. I just wanted to think about basically just being here in the moment and basically how everything is like was going good. From then on, I got undrafted and I got picked up by the Minnesota Vikings. And from then on, um, we had we had rookie mini camp. From rookie mini camp, that was as an undrafted guy, that's an opportunity to showcase that you belong, that you know deserve to be on the team. Because as an undrafted guy going to rookie mini camp, you're going against drafted guys, you're going against all the guys they thought was better than you. So you
Yes.
try to, you know, basically show that you better than them. And like
Yes.
that was the biggest thing I made sure going in. Like I'm about to just go 100% and not look back because you know, and basically that was my mindset. Thank God I ain't had no injuries. Thank God I ain't you know tweak nothing, or I wouldn't have had opportunity. Because a lot of those guys, like I told you, probably tweaked something or probably didn't wasn't given that opportunity. And from then on, made the best of my opportunity. You know, they liked me, so they continued to have me around. And basically, that's kind of how um, I got into. I had that opportunity to get into the league, and then also that preseason. As
Mm.
undrafted guys is the biggest thing. You're really trying to show that you belong, that show that you can handle with these guys in the league, show that you deserve to play. I think for me, that first preseason year as a rookie, it was more just mental. Because when you go into the league, you know, it's not everybody's strong, everybody's fast, everybody this and that, but it's like who's mentally equipped to handle the game and to play the game. And for me, at the same time, you gotta understand, you gotta just control what you control. You know, there's a lot of politics when it comes to NFL, and for a lot of people that can get to them, that could you know throw off their psyche. But I kind of figured that out quick, and kind of just you know kept you know make sure I just stayed focused. You know, I journaled a lot that whole year
Wow.
in terms of staying on course and that rookie season that rookie preseason, I was able to get like 2 sacks and a lot of tackles, and I started from the bottom of the totem pole to, you know, just getting up there. So it was it's just really just more mental, staying focused, and kind of just staying down till you come up.
Yes. Can you tell our young guys that are interested and that are so motivated and so inspired of going to the league, what was the one thing once you got to Minnesota and you kind of moved around a little bit? What was the one thing that you eventually went home and was like, wow, I thought the NFL was like this, but it's really like this? Because, and I say that because just working with guys that are older than me and then working with some of my friends that are in the league now and coordinating their camps or their nonprofits or what have you, there's always that one thing that they're like, man, I thought riding the plane was going to be like this, or man, I thought team meetings was going to be like this, or I thought so what was that one thing for you that prior to going in your mind the NFL or playing in the NFL would be like this, but then it was just like, okay, that's not the reality. That's just, it's commercial. Because the one thing O'Brien said, and Daniel both, it was really funny last week. O'Brien was saying that I want to say 2018 was his first time going to an NFL game and not playing in it. And he was like, he took his kids and he was like, wow, like this is a show. They put on a show for y'all because
This is not what we are thinking down here on the field. I mean, y'all got the glitz, the glam, the food, and he told us last. He was like, I was just so amazed because it's entertainment, it's a production. And then one of the things that Daniel said was that he recently, just not too long ago, a couple of years ago, just actually started watching football again because that mentality of actually being on the field and then kind of listening to other people or watching other people's reaction, and it's like,
Yeah,
dude, this is we're not even thinking what you all are thinking in the stands and or at home. So
yeah.
what was that switch for you once you became an NFL star?
I want to say I began to be more of a student of the game. Like actually, I didn't think people looked at film as much, but going to you
Mm,
had to really like study your team. Like you had to really know the intricate details of who your opponent is and what they doing
okay.
because you have a lot of people in those high offices, box offices as coaches, like pinpointing every detail to help basically win. And I kind of had to know that as a defender from that. That was kind of one thing. Second thing was the getting paid part. I feel like a
Mm,
lot of people they be thinking like, oh, we get paid, we doing this and that, but they be forgetting about Uncle Sam and the taxes that come out of the checks and how, that's basically what you get after that and whatever. Like it's always this notion like we're just rich or whatever. Like, well, for some cases, yes, but in other cases, like we're not all the way there. Like we're not like, Bill Gates out here, but we get a chance to meet his hand up there, like touch him. But we're not really at that level. And I think that was a big thing. Seeing the taxes was a big thing going to the league. And I think the third thing, I used to watch a lot of what's the show, the NFL show about training camp, Hard Knocks. I used to watch a lot of Hard Knocks, see how that was,
okay.
and that was kind of interesting. And I remember they used to make NFL camp seem like it was just hell. But but when I got there, it really wasn't bad. It's really just mental. Like I
Yeah,
remember the
you
Hard
tapped
Knocks.
in.
Yeah, it's just really the mental, like tapped in. Because I remember the Hard Knocks made it seem like it was just more physical. Like it just like my body ache, but it's like more so like you know the um the mental, and then at the same time in the NFL, the reason why these guys still can do what they do over a long period of time is because they take care of their bodies. And
Mhm.
I think that was a big thing for me going into the league, like taking care of my body so I can stay durable and stay, available. Because if I'm always hurt or if I'm always, not banged up, I'm not gonna be able to
Mhm.
perform to my best ability, which is not gonna let them have me around as much. So that was one of the things too.
At what point in your NFL career? So we talked about, or you mentioned Uncle Sam and just even the pay. And I remember even last week, we were educating on the fact that some players are actually on a week to week kind of payment plan. Not everybody is that franchise player. You wake up and you are on, watching Sports Center and so just signed a $60 million or $8 million, whatever. Everybody's not that. Some of us, or some of our players, are actually on week to week. And then again, like you said, your money has to be taxed. You have to pay your agent. You have to pay your public relations manager. You have to do community service. So you have to pay somebody to help put together that event. At what point in your NFL career did you say to yourself, okay, or did somebody even acknowledge the fact that, hey, Jonathan, this is how much you're making, this is how much you should be investing, or this is how much you should be saving? Was that something that was brought to your attention? Or going into the NFL, did you already at least have a small niche to say, okay, regardless of what I'm making, I have to set this aside to invest or to save?
Yeah, I kind of came into it just knowing to save. This past week I just closed on my first house, and I feel like
Yes, congratulations.
that has a lot of attest to me saving, and it's funny because I'm laughing because a lot of people used to be like, man, you cheap, you frugal, and yeah, I got a house right now. But
Right.
so it's like, um, you know, don't get me wrong, I like nice things, but for me, it's like you gotta like plan, you gotta save, you gotta plan, and then when it's time to pop out, then you like, okay, let's pop out. But like until then, like I'm low key right now. I'm just chilling. I'm not gonna really be out here like that. Like it's been so many stories of that I saw of just guys before our time just
Yes.
purchasing this, purchasing that, the bling bling era, the 30
Mhm.
for 30 about I think called broke. Like it's just a lot of those
Yes.
things where you just see that and you just like, dang, like I don't want to be like that. And then even this training now, one of the people I trained with, Alex Ogletree, he told me he became broke after his first year. So it's just like you really you really need to pay attention to that. And at the same time understand like coming into league, the main objective for you for a lot of athletes need to be is just they need to change um the generational curses. Like they need to set their family apart. They
Wow.
need to, not really just be all about, just the moment. They don't need to be thinking about just the moment. They need to think about low key the big picture of
Yes.
what this could potentially do for your family, for yourself, for your future family, like just things
Yes.
like that. And for me, I just knew like I wanted to save. I wanted it to be week to week, or in terms of like week to week, I knew I had to like just get all I can from week to week because it was times where I was released, so I didn't have no income, but I still had
Mm.
income to save. It was times where I still had to maintain like my training and food intake to, so when that time comes back again, I can, be ready in the right shape. It's a lot of factors you have to think about, and I'm just blessed at the same time as well to where I didn't have a family that wanted a lot out of me. I didn't have no baby mama drama. I didn't have no kids.
Uh-oh.
I no like it's a lot of because it was a lot of players I knew that I came in with that had that, and that money, that check would get broken down into that for them, but I ain't had that, so it kind of just fell into the right place. So that was just one of those things I feel like for a lot of players, just you just want to try to save, you want to try to invest to something that's gonna get you let your money work for you, and yeah, I think that was one of the things I was glad to have.
Yes, and we're gonna be wrapping up here soon, but I do want to ask you, what if nothing, are there any resources in the NFL of the NFL has endless resources. What resources does the NFL have that you feel like you didn't necessarily tap into that you wish you would have? Because I'm always telling my guys now, I'm always saying, okay, when you get in the league, if you are fortunate enough to have a 2 year run or 3 year run, use the NFL resources to find somebody that could help you write a book, or that could find somebody that could help you get your real estate license, or they could find somebody that could help you open some type of business, because it's easy to walk in places and say, hey, I'm Jonathan Wynn and I play for the Minnesota Vikings, or hey, I'm Jonathan Wynn and I play for XYZ, and I would like to partner with you to open up a Chipotle, or I would like to partner with you to open up a gym. People are just gonna naturally say yes because you're an NFL player. They don't even have to know you. They don't even have to know what team. They don't even have to know your hometown. But you have that NFL, stamp logo. And I'm always telling my guys, tap into those resources. Don't use that resource to go to the club and buy sections, or go to the car dealership to buy, cars for your friends. Though you're gonna do that, use the resources of you just being a player to get out there and help finance your business, or help become an entrepreneur, so that you can set yourself up post NFL. So did you use your NFL, were there resources that you did not tap into while you were playing, or during, your seasons, that you wish you would have tapped into, or that you didn't tap into at all, that you think now, oh hey, I could have definitely used that?
I'm I'm now tapping into it more so.
Okay.
That first year I wasn't even tapping into all that. But then last year I was in all of it. Like I knew what the benefits were. Like
Ah,
I found that the NFL be giving a lot of benefits to athletes. Like you can get a sleep number bed, you can get benefits on Uber and Lyft. It was just a lot of benefits I didn't know. And the main reason why I found that out is through my agent. I found out more about the NFLPA, which is basically like a union against, not
mhm.
even against the NFL, but like a union for all players to be a part of, so they can know what's going on and know the news and know the opportunities. Like last year, I got an externship from the NFLPA in terms of off the field opportunities. I got my folks a sleep number bed that was paid for by them because from the opportunities. Um, this year, I now have the senior VP and the executive VP numbers. So if there's anything I really need to know, or in terms of how I can like, if I had any idea I want to try to get into, I can just ask them, and they would
Right.
automatically know what I can do for you. So it just, I think the biggest thing now is just really networking, tapping into the resources, and then trying to understand like once you're in the NFL, it's a pact. Like it's a lot of people want to look out for you. It's a lot of people want to see you succeed. Like even if I wasn't to play ball anymore, like I would still be a former NFL player, and
Mm.
it's a lot of opportunities that still want to like just use you or want to like just be with you and utilize you. So I think now for me, I'm kind of more tapped in than ever. But I know that first year I wasn't. But I feel like now for players coming in is more so just understanding the NFLPA, knowing the opportunities that they have from that. This past year, I went to the Super Bowl using like with publicists and everything. Understanding like for me now is more so going into next year. Um, understanding speaking and understanding public speaking. It's a
Uh-huh.
lot of people that want to like utilize, want to get better on these skills, and like it's a lot of money out there for players to have if they just tap into the resources. So it's just really just using your brain and identity to set you up because you only have. It's kind of like like they say the NFL stands for not for long. So while you had this time, just go crazy with it. Like they want to just think a lot. They everybody want to talk about I'm saying the stigma of how ball players now or ball players before were just athletes, but what you're starting to see now is just a renaissance of just athletes being more open, more vulnerable, more
Yes.
to everybody so they can know what we're thinking. Like we're not in this, Jordan age where we're just the athlete and this is all we think about. Like, no, everybody wants to know how we feel, how
Yes.
we're dealing with this. Like we have a platform and with
Yes.
that, what I'm saying, we just need to use it and take advantage of it because just from that little time in the league can just set you up for life and you can kind of just go off of that or basically basically go off of that to any other venture you want to do outside of football or to your next career. So it's just really trying to it's just take advantage of that.
Yes. And speaking of taking advantage of it, you have written a book and I know it's phenomenal. I'm a bookworm, so I will be buying it. When I say I'm a bookworm, I love books. All I do is read on my free time, spare time, at work, not at work, I am reading. Tell us before we get off our conference Zoom, what inspired you to write the book? And it's so interesting because one of the things that you said earlier that got you through your first year being not only in college but even in the NFL is that you journaled a lot. And that is beautiful to me, one because you are a male and the stereotype is that black men don't write and black men don't read. So for that to be just so easily said and so easily done by you. I commend you for that, and I commend you for sharing that so naturally. It makes sense. You're writing, and then now you write the book. So what inspired the book? What is the book about? Where can we go to pick up this book, to purchase this book? And how do you want this book to be commemorated with your NFL legacy?
Yeah, well, so I remember my my in terms of me wanting to get more into writing happened my last year, and while I was training for the NFL, the thing that really shifted for me was how I had this whole regimen, classes and everything, and then once I graduated and got ready for the league, when you're just training, and me, I was working, you just had a lot of spare time. Like you just had a lot of spare time. And for a lot of people, that's when they can get into some bullshit. And for other people, that's when they can be productive with it and probably like
Right.
think about some stuff, like actually do some things. And for me, I was just like, I want to see about writing. And when I graduated that year, like actually crossed the stage and everything, I kind of just thought about how I'm really about to enter into adulthood, and how I sometimes from that I was kind of like wishing I was still like young,
Yeah.
childhood, like in the neighborhood, just where I ain't had no worries and everything. And now I'm about to get into a whole adulthood where it's about to get crazy. There's a lot of things to think about. So I wanted to have a story about that, or create a story around that in terms of growing up in Stone Mountain in the neighborhood where, for me, I feel like me being outside all the time, me exploring the neighborhood, me seeking adventure
Yes.
is the reason why I, I was able to do good on pro day, go to the NFL, to be a productive citizen, into the world. Like I really did feel like that time as a kid was an explanation for why I'm
Wow.
doing great things. So I wanted to write a story about that, and at the same time show how you know that was, I feel like during our time as a kid, that was when you still had that transition period where it was still not as much technology, but still practical things. And I wanted
Right.
to attest to that in terms of how kids during that time can be able to go outside and do stuff, and how you didn't really need all that technology to like have fun and everything. So I kind of wanted to present that, write about that. I did it during whenever I had spare time outside of practices. We'll right through that. That next off season, I kind of went more into depth in terms of writing. I got with a good publishing group, Black owned, 13th and Jones,
Wow.
Chicago, to help me with it. I just started to tap into more of my creative side because not only I could write, I had a vision for like creative things. I had a clothing line for a second. Like it was I was trying to like connect it all through that through the story, and I wanted to like just write a story that was different because I feel like a lot of kids, especially in Atlanta or just kids in general, could attest to when your biggest fun and adventures and lessons were outside the classroom. Like it was more so in the neighborhood or more so during the summer, which I felt like with Summer Juice, I wanted to just show how the glow up that happened or took place within me mostly happened during the summer, more so
Mm.
during the school year. And I feel like that summer going into the league, as I'm finna actually glow up into the person I'm finna be, that's kind of how I wanted to wrap that around in terms of like my childhood, and also that present moment of me leaving Vanderbilt and going to the league and stuff.
Yes. And the name of the book is
Summer Juice.
Summer Juice.
Yes.
I love it. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. Well, Jonathan, it has been such a pleasure. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah, Bob has it on. You got it right there.
Yes. He look, he said his wife is ready. So now I'm eager because I'm one of those people that read books and I take notes, and
Yeah,
I'm always like trying to find the author to ask them 50 million questions to let them know what I was thinking and were you thinking the same thing. So
yeah,
I'm definitely that person. So once I read the book, fear not if you see like 50 million emails or texts or whatever from me, because I'm just that kind of reader.
yeah,
And I just thank you so much for just allowing us this time out of just your busy schedule and just your thought and just whatever you have going on for your day to just spend here with us, because we are really trying to move the needle on how we educate and inform our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our sons on becoming a professional athlete. And if we can somehow create programs or safe spaces or create conversations and conferences where people get to come and hear, people such as yourself, such as Daniel, such as O'Brien, such as me, such as Robert, just speak on the very, very small things that we don't see on TV. I think we have a recipe for not only a diverse community in professional sports, but that sense of understanding and sincerity and empathy and sympathy and oneness when it comes to our professional sports, because people love sports. And I think where we sometimes on the outside looking in, where we sometimes mess up and where the mistakes and where the confusion and the misperceptions come from is that people just really don't know what it truly takes, not only to be a professional athlete, but to be a young star. Because I mean, again, we're like at the beginning of the social media stage, but I have a little cousin right now that is committed to the University of Miami. He's a senior down at Miami Northwestern. He's already got a blue check on Instagram. And so people don't understand that if you don't have a positive circle, if you don't have parents that can humble you, if you don't have people that can come to you to say, don't let that blue check make you crazy. Don't get to, and think that, it's just about to be, oh, playing football. No, you're about to be on the schedule. Don't think that, you playing in a stadium with almost 90,000 people screaming and yelling. It's just easy. And so I think that as the ProSquare host, when we do these interviews, that is our plight. We want to move the needle. We want to educate. We want to give professional athletes a different kind of code of ethics. And we also want to let the people on the outside looking in, whether your family's of a professional athlete or a student athlete, or if you're the coach or a friend, a girlfriend, a wife, whoever, just to give you an inside peek on how you can be of some assistance to this person, because you all need it. And if that assistance can be healthy, if it can be righteous, if it can be right, if it could be useful and it can be transformed to the next generation, then Pro Squared is on its way to just really being a staple for what is a staple in the lives of athletes all over the world, not just in America, but all over the world and at every level. So I thank you for being an exponential athlete because you're on the show, but I truly thank you for being just an exponential person, because the man behind the helmet and the man behind the book is so much greater and is so much more, and you have so much to offer the world. And that is what that's really the surface level stuff. And beneath the surface level, that's the person that we love and that we adore and that we really appreciate, because then you're going to leave something behind for the next generation to follow. And
yeah,
so thank you so much. Thank you, Robert.
yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you to the
y'all.
Pro Square team, because this
And
is so great and we get so much knowledge and information. And you always have Robert, you always find somebody that can just drop us some nuggets that can on Monday
Absolutely.
morning.
Yes,
We're back typing up. So
we
thank
really
you
want to
so
thank
much for it.
Jonathan for taking the time to be with us today.
Yes.
And Jonathan, I will text you and see when we can follow up and talk a little bit further. And Milana, you did a wonderful job as usual. And
Thank you.
thank you for your energy, interest, and your good words on behalf of what we're trying to do at ProSquared. So with that, we will close out today, and we thank you very much for doing this, and hopefully we'll be in touch with all of you again soon.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank
Yes, peace.
you so much. All right.